Yep, here we go. There we go. All right, well, welcome, Sheila. I'm so glad you're
Thank
here.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. This is really exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm going to be doing a story for the Beacon. It'll be running before the event. And Michelle sent me a whole bunch of pictures of you guys with your art and that sort of thing. So I'm sure we'll have something good to use there.
Fantastic.
One of the things I'd like to get from you guys, and Michelle has my email, is a little bio on each of you. So I have some background. I don't know if you have something like that prepared.
Uh,
Like 50 words or less you're meaning
Yeah,
about or something?
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Just basic
Yes,
background,
yes.
what you've done, where you've shown, that sort of thing.
okay,
No problem.
can definitely make that happen.
Should we just email that to you, Michelle, and then you
Yeah.
can put everything together in one?
Yes.
Yeah, that
Okay,
would be good.
perfect.
And Sheila, was the description in the press release, was that enough for you, or would you need something
Oh,
more?
no, I need much more. I'm going to be writing an 800 to 1,000 word stories. So, hey.
Okay, let's fill it in.
Oh, this is wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So tell me,
Yes.
what is this event all about? Why did it happen? Start from the beginning.
Okay, I guess I'll jump in.
Yeah.
So,
That was your
a lot of
idea.
it was. So I'm the former curator of the Carrollwood Cultural Center,
Mm-hmm.
and I met Jennifer and Babette there, and then I met Cindy at Florida Craft Art about a year and a half ago. And so while I was at the curator at the Cultural Center, I was constantly meeting artists, and we get inspired. And the evening that this all kind of came to a head, because we had gone to different shows together, and around different parts of Tampa,
Uh-huh.
and we went to a show last November. For it was a student faculty show for the at the Carrollwood Cultural Center, and then afterward we all went to dinner. And so we were talking about how inspired we were with the arts, and how we each have our own different take on art, and how it helps us heal and helps us process and helps us just express ourselves in the best way that we possibly can. And
Yeah.
then, but it also helps us like push our own boundaries, and kind of test us in ways that we didn't realize that we could be tested. Um, and so it was just one of those like, hey, why don't we do a group show and see what that looks like? And we continued the conversation. And guys, jump in if I'm missing anything. But we
I was
continued
just going to say, it kind of started with the mustard seed, right? Because Michelle has some really strong ties with Africa, and that started with the story of the mustard seed. So you might want to back up just a little bit briefly, but maybe touch on that, because to me, that's how I remember it starting, like the very birth of it.
Okay. So tell me about the mustard seed then.
So in 2018, I answered a call for artists for God, now I'm going to get emotional. For Bay Hope Church, it was a non-Christian artist interpret a Bible verse, and I answered the call, and the missions director at the time, her and her assistant just prayed and prayed and prayed, like what would be my Bible verse, and it's Luke 17:6. If you have the faith of a mustard seed. If you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can uproot a mulberry tree and plant it in the ocean. And a mulberry tree is something that lives in the desert. And when you plant it in the ocean, and according to this Bible verse, it's like you put it in the ocean and it thrives. And so that's been a huge thread in my life since 2019. Because the missions director and I met, she gave me the Bible verse. Somewhere inside of me, it like resonated. It was like,
Yeah.
ooh, that's and my faith was really wavering at that point in my life. And I was like, I wonder what this meant. And what happened for me is like every single day I would just, mustard seed is like itty bitty. And so
Yeah.
I would just like if I have that much faith today, what does that look like? If I had that much faith the next day, what does that look like? What does that like? So it's been this constant evolution. So that particular missions director, when we met at the beginning of 2019, I was just finishing up my certification for therapeutic arts, and also working with some domestic violence survivors, working on a next show at the cultural center. And and so as I was telling her that, she was like, you know what, I'm glad that you're telling me this, because I just found out yesterday that there's a group of mental health therapists that are going to Arusha, Tanzania at the end of the fall, in the fall, and would you like to go? And at the time, I didn't even know where Tanzania was. So but I knew that it was something that I needed to do. So I was like, yes, I'll go. And then I got in my house and I was like, all right, where in the world am I going to Tanzania? So fast forward, that's been like this theme in my life. And so in the fall of 2019, I ended up going to Tanzania. I was there for like 12 days. I did a 4-day seminar with 2 other mental health therapists, and we changed a bunch of lives. And through that, there's one gentleman who actually wasn't there who reached out to me a month later, and we became friends. And I've helped him build an entire community center. And now he's got a daycare center where he works with like over 200 children a day. A day. He's got all these teachers and all of this. And so I went back over last year and met him for the first time. And he introduced me to some people who are in charge of sober houses. And so now I'm just doing all of this therapeutic art with the sober houses. So backtrack to this particular show, that whole, and there's so much more that goes into that, but that whole thing has been a huge thread in my life. And so we talked about like, and Cindy helped me remember the details, because I had actually, to be honest with you, had forgotten about all of that. But like the idea of a little bitty idea just turning into something bigger. And so what would that look like for each of us? And so Cindy, at the time, last November, I had only known her. I met her in May of last year. And so your voices, your recording is.
And that was in May, was the very first time I had ever put my art out in the world.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that was the beginning for me too. But I just remember we were standing outside at the end of the night and talking about it. We were talking about the mustard seed and the tree, and what if we could put a show together, and how fun would it be to just bring, because we all are very different artists. Like I'm a sculptor,
Right.
Babette does more abstract, amazingly beautiful paintings. Jennifer, like her illustrations and her artwork is just blows my mind. And then
Right.
Michele does like, is all over the place. Like she's got like giant, gorgeous mixed media. She has paintings. She can do it all. So we're very different artists. And for me, I didn't know everyone very well at the time, but then through the course of preparing for this show, we've spent a lot of time together and meetings together in person and not in person. And it's blossomed into something really beautiful and special.
And in addition to that, Cindy actually was living here in St. Pete at the time. And in May, she ended up moving back to Virginia. So she's currently in Virginia and will be bringing all of her work down this upcoming week.
Wow.
Yeah,
So-
Saturday I'm packing up the truck and driving down, because one of my pieces is pretty big.
It's been this incredible evolution for all of us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's super.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the Cultural Center. What is that? What does it do?
The Carrollwood Cultural Center is I think it's 17 years old now.
Mhm.
And it's nestled right there in the middle of Carrollwood, and it's exactly that. It's a cultural center. So they have a theater. It used to be a church, but they took the church and they added different components to it and turned it into a cultural center. So it has a theater. It has 6 different galleries. They provide classes for like pottery, art, dance, theater, music. They're also the home of the New Horizons, which is a music band that's like like post retirement and on, or people who have never even picked up any kind of musical instrument and they want to try. They're also the home of
They have
there's
summer
a
camp
chorus.
for kids.
They have summer camp for kids. They have a chorus group that I forgot the name of at the moment. But they've been around, and Paul Berg is the executive director there. So I've been working with him and been involved with the Cultural Center since 2013. So they're like, and I have a 20-year-old son who's actually grown up there too. So
Wow.
it's an amazing organization that just like really fosters people who are stepping into something new.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It embraces the whole community, all
Right.
different ages, all different interests. It's like your home when you come in, and all
Yeah.
exciting venues that cause discussions, and reception nights are a lot of fun because there's so many people talking and interested, and it's
Oh,
a
absolutely.
beautiful community treasure, really.
And the galleries are big. Like there's a lot of
Yeah.
space in that building. So it can accommodate a lot of people.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Wonderful. Well, what I'd like is for each of you to tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got involved in art, how long have you been doing it, and what does it mean to you? So start.
I'd like to start first.
Now we're all going to be shy.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
Well, I can start. I'm Babette Arnold. And I graduated from college in art. I did printmaking back then, and I've always loved art. That's what I used to get as Christmas gifts every year as a child, is something to do with art. But then, of course, with life, you get married, you have a family, you have to go to work. And so my art was on and off, on and off, on and off for
Yeah.
years. And then I got involved with the Cultural Center, about 5, 6 years ago, maybe just about a year after Michele started there, I think.
Mhm.
And she was very instrumental and encouraging and getting me to participate a lot in it. And so now this year I've sort of developed a new, a whole new future that I'm looking at. A lot of things have happened this year that has kind of made some major changes. I'm going to retire next month. And with this seemed to be perfect timing. It's called Pushing Boundaries. So I've been doing that with this show. I've been doing that with my life. And I've been doing that with my art. I have never pushed so hard doing my artwork. I've done more this year, I think, in one bunch time and in one period of time than I've ever done in a year. And it's just been really exciting because I've tried something new also. As
So
far as,
what's new?
well, I was doing oils for years. I did oils, and for practical reasons, actually, because I didn't have a lot of room for all these canvases that I was doing. And I wasn't selling anything because it wasn't a really consistent, style of life for me at the time. So I went to watercolor. And then one day I found some pastels and I started to put the pastels over a watercolor base. And I love the vibrancy of all the colors and the contrast of darks and lights. And so that's what I've been doing. And this year I went to more of an abstract direction. And it's been a lot of fun because it was a distraction for me because I had some medical things all the first part of this year. And I was able to kind of express when I was feeling good and when I was feeling anxious and when I was feeling chaotic, and it was all coming out in my art this year like that. And so it's been interesting and it's kept me sane, I think, because because otherwise, no, really, I do. I think I would have like maybe closed myself up because it was scary at first.
Yeah.
And
I'm gonna have to ask every one of you, how old are you?
I'm 76.
Wow. Good for you.
So, and I've been working full time, but like with a lot of things, the corporations are changing the way they're doing business, and good old AI is sort of charging its way into a lot of workspaces. So, but it was time. I would have probably I would have worked until I dropped. So this is good because now I have a new future to look forward to. And I think that this gave me a jumping off point to keep going with my art.
Right. And when you were working, what did you do?
Well, I've always been in some form of marketing. I
Okay.
sold advertising for years, all of the, TV, newspaper, radio. And this now I was with Nielsen Company. I don't know if you're familiar with
Oh,
that. They're the ratings
absolutely.
people for TV.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we had a department that got sold, but it's always been something to do with marketing. So,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
good. Very good. Excellent. Well, thank you. That's
you're
super.
welcome.
Okay, who's next?
Who's next?
I'm Jennifer Thomas Houdeshell.
Jennifer.
Hi. Art's been a
How-
part of my life since I was
Okay.
little.
Oh, okay. How old are you? Let's get that off the bat
I am
here.
79 years old.
All right.
79 years young. I'm
Yeah.
intending to be a centenarian. I hope my body agrees with me. But
Absolutely.
I've been interested in art forever. I had a mother who was a writer and an artist, and she stuck crayons and pastels and everything she could think of in my hands as soon as my hands could hold them. So I wanted to be an artist when I went to college, took a lot of art classes, but I also took art education classes. So I freelanced for years, but at the same time, I taught in the public schools of Ohio and Florida and Tennessee for
What did you-
17 years.
did you
Um,
start?
and loved it and loved it, primarily in middle schools and high school. And thousands of kids, 7 classes a day. And it was a joy, and it still made me want to do my own artwork at home, which I did,
Yeah. So
And
you were
I
teaching
even had
art.
the kids, painting in oils.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and I did shows while I was teaching also. And then I had my mom my mom needed help. My dad had Alzheimer's and he'd had it 12 years. And so I needed to retire to help her. And then she had Alzheimer's. So I hit a stretch like that.
Oh,
So
dear.
I was teaching part-time in like museums and galleries, and I taught part-time in a shelter for homeless folks, unhoused folks, which was a wonderful experience. Taught all different ages, but part-time instead of full-time, so I could help. And then finally, I needed to go full-time into mom's home and help her for a few years. And right at that time, God gave me a gift, and that gift was a competition for illustrators by United Way of Northeast Florida. And the competition had been open. It was for picture books, which I'd always dreamed to do, picture book illustrations. It was a community effort where an older person in the community with stories told a high school person about it, was interviewed by the high school person, and then a writer was hired to professionally tell the story, and then an illustrator was hired to illustrate it. And so it was a competition for one illustrator, and everybody had been working at it for 3 days, and you had to have, for 3 weeks when I first found out about it, and you had to have a polished, finished illustration to them. And I just thought I was helping mom. I was living with her, and I thought, if God gives me this opportunity, I'm taking it. So I did the illustration. I managed to pull it off, and I won the competition, which was a $1,000 award and a $6,000 book contract. So that was the first picture book that I ever did.
Oh, do you have a copy of it
Right
there?
up there.
Jennifer,
And it was
grab the book for you. Grab the book for us, please.
What's the title of the book?
the title of the book is Peter and the Silent Siren. Peter and the Silent Siren.
Oh, okay.
United Way had a grant program. They were going to do many books, but then the economy went sour, and Bank of America pulled their contract, and
Oh,
and
dear.
so they couldn't do it. They couldn't go on to it. But still, that gave me the experience. So when another opportunity came along, I could apply at a company, small publishing house, for a chance to illustrate for them. So I did illustrate for Guardian Angel Publishing House and did 4 more books in a series. And so they're all there. Ebenezer's Cousin and Veterans Clubhouse. And that's a lot of love, and the Foster Opossums. And there were about 18 illustrations in each book. And it was a joy doing them. But then COVID came along, and the publishing house couldn't sell enough work it went under. It had to close. It just couldn't sell enough. And somebody wanted to buy it who was a vanity press, and the publisher said, no way, I'm not selling this to a vanity press. I'd rather close it. So that was a tough blow. But anyway, meanwhile, I had been freelancing, and I had been doing a commission work. And so I was trying to decide. The last book I did here. I moved from Eastern Florida, where I lived for 37 years in the DeLand area, and to Tampa. So that was a big switch for me. And I did the last book here, The Foster Opossums. And then I met Michele at the Cultural Arts Center. And for quite a few years, I'd been doing a lot of work with human trafficking, against human trafficking. And I had started a group in Volusia County, and my friends joined it, and our church sponsored it. And eventually it became a foundation also that could buy land to build shelters, that could provide a grant each time, because we would do these galas and we would do all kinds of things. And when my husband got Alzheimer's, we seemed to have a lot of it. Brother, husband, and mom and dad both.
My mom had it too.
When he could, I was out working with our group all over the place, with our anti-trafficking group. But then when he was too ill to leave him, it occurred to me, and my friend said too, we're doing another gala. We have a big gap on the wall. We're doing it in black and white and sunflowers. Come on, Jen, give us a painting. So that was the first painting. It was called Hope. And now there are 25 of those paintings that tell an awareness story of human trafficking.
Wonderful.
And so they're used often behind speakers, in exhibits. Michele got them into the Cultural Arts Center, which is family-oriented center, but they're idealistically done, and they're not anything offensive in any way.
Right.
And so they were exhibited there for 2 months, and they've been exhibited all over Central Florida, really, in art galleries, in health departments, in government offices, in churches galore. Sometimes now I'm taking 5 or 6 to an event. All 25 takes more. They're going to be in the women's hospital, Baycare Women's Hospital on Martin Luther King in January for a training. They're doing a training for all of their employees, which is wonderful. So I kind of have this dichotomy. I have these artworks that are bright and colorful, that are illustrations, or they are activist pieces, but they're still bright and colorful. I have one that's on the border when there was razor wire and balloons to make people fall in and drown, but it's still colorful. But there are the colorful ones, and then there are the black and white, the 25 black and whites that tell the story to help parents. Recently, I was on television on the on Channel 8 on daytime, just to bring the point home to parents. With several of the paintings of the easiest way to be trafficked is right out of your own home with your phones or your computers, your kids' phones or their computers. So that was important. So I'm trying to balance this. And Michele's been wonderful. She has a network like you won't believe, and she's so generous and kind. And she encourages. There's not an artist I know that she has not encouraged and brought forth much more, and being a new artist in a new place. Yeah, it makes a difference, because she introduced me to Gina White too, and Gina White is an outstanding encaustic artist, but she also runs St. Thomas Art Project in St. Petersburg. So now I'll have a solo show there in the springtime in April. On the month I turn 80, I'll have a solo show there. So that's grand. And then in 2028, I was asked to do and accepted to do a Stations of the Cross show. So I'm working on that now. That's a lot. That's 14 paintings to make sure I stay on schedule. So it's exciting here. Tampa's an exciting, beautiful art city, and I've met so many people, mostly thanks to Michelle. And I've gone so many places to see so many exhibits, and
Right.
my church home is here now, and my family, part of my family is here, one daughter. So it's been a good move here, and I feel younger than I did a few
That's
years ago.
fantastic. Very, very good. Love
Thank you for listening.
That was beautiful, Jen.
It was.
Really.
I love listening to like the whole journey that you've been on.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm Cindy Stevens, and I should have gone first because I like you ladies just blew my mind out of the water. I'm the new kid on the block. I've been an artist in my heart probably since I can remember. I didn't know that I could be an artist because I didn't feel like I had the skills, and I thought you had to be born into it.
Yeah.
But I did have a great aunt who I met probably when I was 13 or 14. I met her once. She lived out in Oregon, and she was an artist. And when I met her at my grandmother's house, she was just drawing in charcoals, like just landscapes. And she just would take her charcoal and a little postcard size, piece of paper and make something beautiful.
Yeah.
And that really stuck with me. And then when I was in my early 20s, I was a flight attendant, and I had a month of layovers out in Oregon. So I reached out to her, and I spent some time with her, and she was the most beautiful, prolific artist that I had ever known, because I didn't come from people who were artists. And,
Right.
I kind of had to carve my way through to find
No pun intended.
find my voice, right? It's
Carve your
true.
way through.
Yeah, and
No, it's
and I
very
was a
good.
painter. I started out painting, but it was always like I've always had to work really hard to be good. So nothing ever came easily. But with her, my best memory of her is she was, by this time it was years later, and she was in her very late 90s. I want to say maybe 98. She had broken her hip, and she went into an assisted living facility. And so here this woman is at 98 years old, and I go to visit her out in Oregon, and she has an easel set up at the area where the entrance to the cafeteria. And she was giving art shows to the people at her assisted living facility. Her room was completely adorned with all of her beautiful paintings, and she was so happy. And that is, to me, the meaning of, like, that's the beauty of being an artist, is that we carry that joy on the inside. And then when we're able, and then when we're able to actually express it, which, like Babette said, and we all know that life gets in the way, and when we are on this zigzag path, but when we're really able to just access what we have and put it out into the world, it reverberates, and it makes the world a better place. And even though we think it's just my painting, or it's just my sculpture, or it's just this little thing that I do, it's still really important. And it took me up until very recently to understand that, and to really understand why my art was important in the world.
And that must give more meaning to each piece that you create.
So the pieces for this show, I'm not nearly as prolific, because sculpting is a pretty intense process. But anyway, so I have 5 pieces for this show, and every piece was born from meditation, and every single piece is narrative. They all have a story. So the largest piece that was the first that I started, and the last that I finished today, is a very large hand. The hand is probably at least 2 to 3 feet high. And there's a very large wasp on the hand. and he's covered in mosaics, and the abdomen is the rainbow mosaic tiles. But the title of that piece is Letting Go of Fear. And when I lived in St. Pete, I didn't have much space for my studio. So I had an outdoor tent, basically. And there were a lot of paper wasps, like a lot, so many. And so your initial reaction is like, oh, like, what do I do with these wasps? You know, we're not comfortable around them. But I came to realize, because they put nests inside my tent, which was my workshop. So I'm like, all right, we're going to have to just learn how to get along. And I mean, they already knew what they were doing. So it was me learning to cohabitate with like a lot of wasps, like a lot.
Yes.
And I read somewhere that they actually have some sort of facial recognition, like, you know, maybe it's minor, but so I would go in every day. I'd be like, hey guys, it's just me, you know, and we would just do our thing, and they did their thing and I did my thing, and everything was magical. And so in one of my meditations, this came to me that I needed to do a wasp on a hand, and I wanted it to have the whole concept of, you know, the spiritual side of the chakras, and then the, you know, the whole diversity side of like, we fear things that we don't understand. And we fear so many things. And so to just, when you're able to let go of that fear, you get to the other side where you can just be, hey, it's just me, I'm just doing my thing, right? And it's a good place. So that's my biggest piece that I'll be bringing down, and all the other pieces have stories as well. So that's kind of, and back in May, a year and a half ago, was the very first show that I had ever entered with my artwork. And Michelle happened to be the curator, and she's the one who put the call for that show. And I had just finished in wax because I thought I would do it in bronze, but I had finished a chess set that was kind of big, 24 inches by 24 inches, of all the Florida birds, because I love them. And my son plays chess, and Michelle had a call for art that was called
Crafting play
for games. So I submitted, and I got in, and I was on the cover for their mailer, and I met Michelle, and she changed my world. And I didn't have a social calendar until I met Michelle. And then after a few weeks, I'm like, I need a calendar to keep track of my life now, because it's like, there's someone I want you to meet, and there's somewhere I want to take you, because there's people I want you to meet. And that's Michelle. And she's really the glue that you know, she's the hub of the wheel.
For
sure.
For sure.
So that's,
Okay,
I guess
Cindy,
that's my
2 questions.
Yes.
Okay, number 1, how old are you? And at the end of this, I'm going to confess my age, so don't be shy.
Okay, well, I know I have to remember, because I just had a birthday.
Cindy and I are like a year apart, and we typically don't talk about our age, so we literally we let other people do the math.
I just can never remember. I think I'm 57 now. But
because I think I'm 56.
Are we?
But my goal is definitely to be a centenarian, at least. So that's
now my other question. Michelle sent me some photos, you know, some headshots and some of the art for all of you. But I love the wasp story. Do you have a picture of that piece? I'd love to have that, because I want to use that in the story.
All right. Okay. I just took one today.
Okay.
Do you want, because I was thinking about that. So here's the one that I have. Do you want me to send that to?
Yes, please.
No, I have a newer one.
Okay.
Yeah, because I had to fix some things today. So today is the final finish. So I'll send you a picture.
Okay, great. Thank you.
She did a beautiful reel on it too. Everybody loves it.
Well, and that was before I changed it. So the reel is when I didn't like that white grout. It was bugging me to pieces. So I had to change all the grout.
Oh,
so
my
that's
God.
why it looks different now. But I think it's better.
I'm sure. Everything you touch is magic.
Well, because I'm
am relentless. I don't give up. But in this instance, we're all running out of time. So like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
True. Very true.
Oh, can I say one last thing?
Yes.
And we've all won awards. So I know Babette and Jennifer both won first place at for different shows at Carrollwood.
Okay.
I won first place last year with the AAPL, which is it's one of the oldest art organizations in New York. It's the American Artist Professional League. They do realism, but I won first place for a sculpture of my dog Doug. I know Michelle's won awards as well. So, and then today I just found out that one of my sculptures is it was accepted into a show in Connecticut. So I have to ship that out tomorrow.
If you
And that'll
guys,
be 2
all
months.
of those little things, if you can make sure that's in the information you give Michelle to send to me, okay? Where
Thank
won
you,
and what
Sheila.
won. Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, now I'm done.
Okay. Excellent, excellent. So Michelle, are you having art in this too?
I am. The kind of art I typically do is the stuff that you see behind me. I started off, I can remember, like I know I've been creating since I was 5 because I have a piece. But it was one of those things where I had a great grandfather who would he was a painter and he would just hold on to me and paint. And me in one arm and him painting in another arm. Um, and then he passed, and then I had 2 aunts who were also artists who really inspired me. And my mom was very creative. My grandmother was, the knitting and the crocheting and all of that. But I was also raised with the whole idea that, artists don't make any money. And so there's a lot of people in my world growing up who are entrepreneurs. And so they're like, no, go the business route, go the business route. And so I did that, started going to school for that, but there was like this hole inside of me all through my 20s where I'm like, God, just what? I'm not hitting it. I like it. Just what is going on? So I went into retail, and as I started going into retail, and just real quick, I want to take a hiatus for a second. My landlord has decided that today is the day to mow the lawn, so I don't know if you can hear it.
You can't hear it at all.
Can't hear it at all.
Perfect, because it's making me crazy, because I'm like, "Oh, I hate to tell you all this." Anyway, so so I was in my late 20s in retail management in Lerner, New York, selling clothes, doing all the things. Like I was I was here in St. Pete and in Tampa, but working in St. Pete, and I was like the #1 assistant manager in the region. And I was, I had this friend who was like, Michelle, because I was taking hobby classes when I could, right? And he's like, people don't typically wake up at 2 a.m. to draw out their dreams. So it's probably not a hobby. Like you may actually, you're genius with this. You're coming up with inventions, with ideas, drawing all this stuff out. You may want to just admit that you're an artist. And at that point, saying I'm an artist was just like it was almost like, it was almost like a cuss word, like, oh, I can't say that, but I finally started stepping into it. I ended up moving to Columbus, Ohio, and entered into a Columbus College of Art Design, and did that for a while. And there was something inside of me that just kept, this kind of coming back to like the faith of a mustard seed that I didn't know. This is like that whole string that I just kept, it's like that being pulled this direction. And before I moved from Tampa to Ohio, it was like this calling of teaching art to kids is just that's what just kept calling me, just teaching art to kids. And so I'm like, I don't know what this looks like, but and I didn't have a teaching degree, and I had raised my goddaughter, and that was about the extent of that. So I moved to Ohio, started in with Columbus College of Art Design, and just kept getting this call to teach kids. And so I literally walked
How
into a
old were you at that point?
I was 29, 30.
Okay.
I moved there in 99, so I just turned 30. Yeah. Um, and so I literally walked into a kindergarten and I said, I, I, I'm here because I'm an artist and I want to teach your kids. And she was like, well, what kind of experience do you have? I was like, well, I raised my goddaughter. She said, you're hired, you know? And then I started winning awards there, like monthly awards of like the teacher of the year, and then writing my own curriculum. I had 5-year-olds singing 50 Nifty United States, which is a song I learned in 5th grade. So it was like that kind of, I just believe that if you put a cap on your experience, then you're already like you're already failing. You know what I mean? Like I didn't tell
Yep.
these 4-year-olds that they're learning a 5th grade song, and they were, and they, by the end of their calendar, their school year, they were able to look at the map and go, well, this is North Dakota, and this is Florida, and this is Texas, and like that kind of thing. So anyway, fast forward. So I was in Ohio for a couple of years, did that, kind of veered off the college, kind of, but it got me going, right?
Huh?
And then I came back to Florida. And while I was there, I was teaching in the inner city, teaching art. I put on a play. I didn't know anything about putting on a play, so I figured that out, and was just having fun. It was like I finally found my calling. I was working on a grant at the Columbus Boys and Girls Club, and the executive director had a massive heart attack and died. And so then the grant fell through because no one knew, how to fulfill
Right.
that. And so I was like, well, you know what? So October to October. So I decided, you know what? I still had a life here. I still had people here. My goddaughter was entering her teenage years. It was like one of those times where it's like, it's time for me to come back. And so I came back, ended up working. I came back in 2002, ended up getting a job. Hold on, I'm placing myself because I'm like, I started working at the Straws in 2002, but it must have been a little bit later. Anyway, so I ended up working at the Straws from '03
We
to
can be
'09.
vague. Yeah. We can
What?
be vague. We can be vague. You
Oh,
don't
okay,
have to
okay,
have.
okay. No, I'm just trying to place myself. So that put me again back in the art career, where I'm like working with artists, and then I ended up starting to curate at the Schimberg. Did that, and then I was part of the layoffs in 2009. So, but by that point, I had my son, and I wanted to bring him into the whole art realm. And so I started teaching art at the YMCA, and then from the YMCA, I ended up at Carrollwood Cultural Center in 2013. And I was teaching art to Babette, actually, and I met through one of the classes that I was teaching, a watercolors class.
Yeah.
And then in 2018, the executive director asked me, Paul Berg, he asked me if I wanted to be the curator, because the curator that they had at the time, she had a family emergency. She ended up moving back up north. So that's where pretty much that started, that like really me being the curator. And the beautiful thing about the cultural center is that for me it's magic there. Like the it's there were people that would call me up and say, something happened in my life and I won't be able to fulfill this contract and the show. And sometimes within 45 minutes, sometimes it's, within a day or two, I would get a call and they would say, hey, I want to show your art. And I'm like, isn't that funny that this opening just came up? Would you be available? And they would say yes. So it was almost like
Yeah.
God took the puzzle piece and said, nope, this is not the right one. This is the right one. And then that's just how it started. But there's the people that come there, the artists that come there, it's almost like they come and they're like, I have this artwork and I want to show and I want to step into this new aspect of my life. And I help them and I show them. And that's what I've done with these 3 ladies. That's what I've done with everyone that I know, all the artists that I know. And it's it's a gift and a blessing. Give me a second. Um, to
Don't
to
cry.
watch all of this happen.
Yeah.
Um, and so back to my art, I also have minimal pieces because life. I have
So
2 pieces.
how would you describe your art?
Well,
thematically or what, you
I,
know?
I call like a lot of my art is typically this. It's like
Yeah.
it's mixed media. I call it process art because I take these
Okay.
ideas, these conversations that people that I have with people, these ideas, and I want to embody them. And so I create artwork to help me embody them. And it's
Right.
all very joyful, it's playful, it's very non-traditional, right? So I have all of that. I have three ladies that are my, it's a triptych. It's based on the faith of a mustard seed. The second one is I'm pregnant with ideas. And the third one is hell yeah, I'm doing it. And they're bright fuchsia women that have these different colors on the outside, and they're just like full embodied joy. Like I am doing it. This is my life. Next, right?
Yeah.
And so I have those three. I have two pieces that were inspired by monks when I worked at this organization that has monks every year, and then I have one piece that's very it's
Spiritual.
yes, very spiritual. It's called
Yeah.
Touching Faith, and it's kind of my take on Michelangelo's hand touching God, and I can show it to you. It's my hand with my thumb ring, right? And then one of my friends from Africa, because the connection that I have with Africa,
Oh, that's wonderful.
yeah. So there. Sorry.
Okay, so that's fine. Now, you didn't get out of this. How old are you?
I'm 50, you're 57, I'm 56.
Okay, you're the baby.
Yes, I
Well, guys, I told you I was gonna confess. I'm 85.
Whoa,
oh, thank
wow.
you,
Good
You
for
would never
you.
know it. You would never know
Amazing.
it.
No, that is
No, you wouldn't
amazing.
know.
You would
Yeah,
not at
okay.
all.
No,
No.
That's beautiful.
yeah, well, I exaggerated a little bit. I'm not quite. I'm like 84-ish, almost. But to me, age doesn't mean a darn thing. It's what you do with your life, and you have to live it and enjoy it and be who
Right.
you are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think each of you has had a different journey, but you've all ended up in the same place, expressing yourself through your art, and I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
we appreciate that.
We're so
We
grateful
hope we
to
encouraged a lot
share.
of people along the way.
Yeah. Okay, so each of you, I need you to send me like a resume or a bio or something, so I make sure I get your name spelled right and I get the dates or whatever it is that you want to be able to make sure we get in the article that it's correct. And I definitely want Cindy's hand with
Giant
the
wasp.
wasp.
Yeah,
It's kind of big.
Okay, great. Is there anything else that you would really like to see mentioned in the article?
We'd like to invite you to come to the reception.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
can.
I would love to. I really would. Okay, now I don't know if it's the reception. Oh, yeah, there
September
it is. On the
12th.
Friday,
12th, right?
September 12th. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I certainly will try.
Okay.
That would
Okay,
be great. That would
We
be
would
great.
love that. Thank
Do you have
you.
any
Okay.
other thoughts
Oh,
or
you're
anything
quite
for us,
welcome.
Sheila?
What?
Do you have any other thoughts or
No,
com-
not really. There's you guys have given me a ton of material. There's no way I can get all of it into the article, but I think I'm gonna basically try to take each one of you, and we're gonna be running pictures of you and your art,
Okay.
and try to tell each of your stories, and then it all kind of pulls through. This is a journey of some very talented women
Yeah.
who are just enjoying life.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what it
Thank
boils
you.
down to. Absolutely.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for the opportunity. I know that,
Thank
you
you.
know, this time you could typically be writing, and so, to spend it here with us, we're really grateful for that.
Oh,
So
okay,
Yeah.
great. Well, thank you. It's been wonderful.
Good.
Okay, bye-bye.
all
Thank
right,
you so
bye.
much.
Bye.
Thank
See
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow.
Yeah.
She was
So-
lovely.
Hold on. Let me turn off the recording.
She was lovely.
Oh, she was so lovely.
Absolutely
Yeah.
lovely. Yeah.
I wonder if she